Welcome to our show, Sacred Tools for Divine Living with Vialet Rayne, where Vialet provides you with practical ways to bring in more joy and financial abundance into your life. Vialet creates a loving and sacred space where she shares simple ways for each of us to empower and enrich our lives. We are so happy you have joined us today. Let's get started with your host, the magical creator of Discover Your Spiritual Gifts, Vialet.
Hi, thanks for joining me today. I want to share a little bit of teachings, personal experience, insights, just a few things because I think it's really important because it's really come up really strongly lately, and Spirit's kind of nudging me to share a little bit. So for those of you who may know or may not know, our center was flooded on December 23rd, 2019. That was last year, 2 days before Christmas. And what did that mean? We had 6 inches of water throughout our center, and we have no idea when it started, how long that it had been happening, but the center early in the morning on December 23rd was found with water everywhere. So as an owner, as someone whose heart is in their work and their center, you can imagine what it's like to show up at the doors and see all of this destruction. Because if you've never been flooded, if you've never had a flood in your life, it is hard to understand the damage that water can do. And as I arrived that morning, my staff had been calling me saying, "Hey, Violet, we need to close the center today. Hey, Violet, we need to close the center." And I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. Let's see what's going on, right? Always the optimist, always the person that sees the positive in everything. And when you arrive to the center and you have products like our oracle and tarot cards that were damaged from the water pouring on them all evening, the bookshelves that were disintegrating and the water was hot. It wasn't even cold water, it was hot. So there was this steam that had been sitting into the space, and all the feet of the furniture and the height and the rugs and the flooring popping up and curving and carpets soaked. I mean, such a devastation. And honestly, at first glance, I just thought, oh, we're going to move some stuff from the right to the left. We'll clean all this up and we'll be back to normal tomorrow. Well, anyone that's ever experienced water damage doesn't quite work that way. And so we had lots of people in the center working to not only move furniture and merchandise out, but we also had maintenance workers in there cutting the bottom half of all the sheetrock, ripping up carpet and flooring and throwing it out, taking rugs and tossing. Such a devastating way to enter your store. And we worked all day on the 23rd to pack everything up and to move it into safe locations. It was scattered in multiple different directions. We filled garages on site. We filled rooms that were suites that were empty with our stuff. We just packed it and moved it and tried to move it. Now, what most people don't know in the background, as a business owner, we were looking to expand our business. We wanted to expand the center. We wanted it to be bigger. And we had been looking at locations throughout Littleton area, Centennial, for us to be able to move our center. And we had found one. We had started negotiating and talking about taking on the space. What was interesting about this was the space was a little bit bigger than what we really needed, but it was going to be a lot more expensive because we were looking at moving our center to a commercial property where we would have a shopping center and stores supporting around us, where we'd have good traffic flow, people coming and going, to really put us into a larger space. Now, the space that we were talking about, really looking at, was about close to 6,000 square feet. So it was going to be a really big store. It was the size of a pet store that we were going into. And we were really talking to them about doing that. And everybody was excited on the team that had some insights. Now, what happened after the flood on the 23rd is the 27th of December, I received a call from the owner of this new space stating that they didn't feel comfortable renting to us. They didn't believe that we could make the financial obligation, that we would be able to pull off this bigger center in comparison to what we had that day, comparison to what we were doing. Now, I'm a business person. I'm pretty good with numbers, and I had cracked the numbers. I had a plan, and I was ready to move forward. The truth of reality was it was going to really stretch us. Wasn't impossible, but wasn't going to be a piece of cake either. But I was ready to take it on. So after the flooding of the center and really realizing that we weren't going to be able to go back into the space the next day or even the next week to open our center up, and then on the 27th to get the call that we weren't going to get the other center either. I didn't have a place to move people to. It wasn't built out. It wasn't ready. There wasn't a space for us to go. As you can imagine, was really devastating. The very next day, December 28th, is my birthday. And people know that on your birthday these days, what do you get? Lots of text messages and Facebook messages because people are so loving and caring. They want to wish you a happy birthday. Well, imagine after your center is flooded and then hearing the news that you're not going to be able to move and there's not a direction and you have no idea how long this is going to take. And now it's your birthday and you're supposed to be happy and upbeat and you're supposed to be celebrating. Have a great day. Have a wonderful day. And I can truthfully tell you, I spent my birthday last year crying most of the day, devastated at the position I was and where I was. Now here's the truth. We're all human. We're allowed to have those emotions. We're allowed to have those reactions. And we need to honor that as a human. The key is not to get stuck there, not to get so stuck that you can't find your way out, right? It was a really sad day. It was a devastating day, right? And so this was in December. In January, we set up temporary classes so that we could at least keep our classes going and we could keep our practitioners working. We moved people around, we shared space, we had classrooms going and classes. So we were able to keep things going through January, February, March as they worked on our space, as we slowly saw movements forward, as we slowly saw things happening. Because if you've ever had water damage, first of all, you got to dry it all out and they have to make sure there's no mold and that there's nothing left. The reason why we had a flood in our center was because of our heating and air system. We were on a boiler system, which meant hot water ran through the ceiling of the space and the pipe broke and that's where all the water came from. So a new heating air system had to be brought in to replace the old one. Not a big deal, but can be a challenge because it changes the whole system and operation of the heating and air. So we're in March, still trying to figure our way through this, get repairs. Do we need to find a new space? Do we need to look elsewhere? What's going on? Just trying to motivate our way through it, staying solid, staying connected. And then what occurs in March? Late in March, we get hit with COVID-19. And COVID-19, the first time I heard of it was students in my class talking about that the toilet paper was disappearing on the shelves. And I'm like, what? What are you talking about? What are you talking about there's no toilet paper? What are you talking about that there's no paper towels, right? And so now we're getting hit with another phase of this process of COVID-19. And in the beginning, I'm like, oh, we're going to be okay. We'll get through this. We'll have classes. Everything will be right. And then all of a sudden, very quickly, the governor, the states are requesting that we stay at home, that we don't come out, that we don't have in-person contact, that we limit our in-person, that we isolate ourselves. So we had to pivot and shift again. And so we made major shifts of me putting stuff online, connecting virtually, having connections just so that we could stay connected. Because now my retail store is closed. My practitioners have been, most of them have been displaced in their rooms. My readers haven't been able to do reading. My staff has not been working because we had all these repairs, and the few staff I did have working, helping with classes, now I can't even have classes. I can't have in-person classes, and students, the interaction is gone. Right, so we're working through trying to get the repairs done and trying to get back. And we made a decision through this process that, hey, maybe the building has more space. Maybe they have more to offer us than we really realized. And what we discovered was they did. And we've made a decision to stay in the building that we're in and expand our space, change the, the formatting of the space and how it's set up. We're expanding our retail space in the very spot that we're in. We have doubled the size of all of our classrooms when this is all over. We're moving our practitioners down to the first floor and adding additional rooms and space down there for practitioners. So by the end of this summer, we will have completed a 3-phase process in our expansion. We will have, expanded greatly our retail space and our offerings. We've got to put in checkout stands, more inventory, more of a selection. So we're really excited. Our classrooms are getting very large so that we can have larger events eventually when the state can, right? Adding office space and storage and reader room, practitioner rooms downstairs. So we're really, really excited. But here's the lesson in this. Sometimes we are handed some really difficult things in our lives. And at the time, it can be devastating. It can hurt. It can be painful. It can be frustrating. And we don't always understand what Spirit is doing for us. And I know in December, I reached out to Spirit and said, what's going on? What's happening? I'm concerned. I'm worried. And I kept hearing, it's perfect. We've got you set up. It's going to work out perfectly. And when you're in that space where you just want answers, why? And Spirit's telling you, life is great. And you're like, really? Are you looking at the same view that I'm looking at? Because you must not be looking at what I'm looking at. But here's the truth in this whole story. If we'd have got that new space and we would have moved our center to that new space, the construction would have been done at the end of March. We would have moved everyone into that center in the end of March, and COVID would have hit. And the expense, the operational expense of that center would have been a very heavy load to have carried through COVID being closed and not being able to be open. It could have been a devastating blow for us and our center. But Spirit was looking out for us. Spirit was guiding us. Spirit was giving us direction. So the next time you face a really difficult time, a really devastating, frustrating time, I hope you'll remember the story, and I hope you will keep in mind that those are the best times to be in appreciation, the best times to hold a space of gratitude for what you do have, for what is going on, for what's happening that you don't understand fully. Because, believe it or not, Spirit's looking out for you and guiding you in a direction that your soul wanted you to take. I am so excited about what's coming in the future. I am really excited to see how this is going to unfold. This is June. I have to look at the date and I can't even see it on here. June 20th, 2020. We are hoping in 2 weeks by July 1st to have the keys back to our own space and to be able to be in there to reset our store so that we can open the last week of July. I hope you'll stay connected. I hope you'll check on the next chapter because I believe it's going to be a real good one.
Thank you for joining us. To find out more about Vialet and how she can help you discover your spiritual gifts, head over to discoveryourspiritualgifts.com. Check out Violet's services and classes. You can also send a personal message to Violet through email, violet@discoveryourspiritualgifts.com. Until next time, remember, we are meant to have abundant and joyful lives. We hope to see you really soon at Discover Your Spiritual Gifts.
Discover connection, awaken sacredness, become empowered. Come experience the difference at Discover Your Spiritual Gifts.